Hey everyone, it's Fun Patrick once again, and in this video, I am super duper excited because we will be releasing our first 2019 NBA mock draft. Super excited about this, and yes, I know that the 2018 NBA draft just happened a couple of days ago, but I wanted to get this mock draft out to the world as soon as possible because in this video we're going to talk about some of the big prospects coming up next year, as well as I would say the draft order is pretty interesting as well. So let's get right to it. So in this edition, the number one pick is going to go to the Charlotte Hornets. Good golly gee willikers. I'm not saying Charlotte's going to be the worst team in the NBA next year, but in this edition, Charlotte gets lucky in the lottery, gets the number one pick, has a chance to change their franchise around. Will they pick one of the big Duke prospects from the same state? Good golly gee willikers, that is not the case. With the number one pick in the 2019 NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Bol from the University of Oregon. Good golly gee willikers, an RKO out of nowhere, F5 through the table at SummerSlam. He is 7'3", arguably 7'4", with a nice inside-outside game. It is inhuman for a player his size to have the skills that he does. And with Charlotte, they already have Malik Monk at shooting guard for the future, and this gives them a long-term center option that could change that franchise around. But I am sure Charlotte Hornets fans would not be very pleased as they are not picking one of these big time Duke players. And with that being said, the number two pick in this draft will be going to the Boston Celtics. That is because Boston has Sacramento's first round pick for next year unless it goes number one, and in that case Philadelphia would get the pick. But in this scenario, Boston lucks out, gets the number two pick, and what do you know? They pick R.J. Barrett from Duke. This is just not fair. This gives them so much flexibility. R.J. Barrett and Jason Tatum going forward. You've got Jaylen Brown too, and you could potentially trade him in this scenario. Good golly gee willikers. The Boston Celtics, talent and depth all over the place, and RJ Barrett has a big giant smile on his face because I am sure he would rather go to Boston than Charlotte. And we've got a big time pick at number 3. The Atlanta Hawks will be picking number 3. Who will they pick to team up with Trae Young long term? Zion Williamson is going to the Atlanta Hawks. Admit it, Trae Young and Zion Williamson would be absolutely fun to watch. This upcoming year is pretty much just going to be let Trae Young develop and do what you need to do there, but I don't think anyone's expecting Atlanta to make the playoffs or anything, but I would expect Atlanta to have a high pick next year. Let me tell you though, Trae Young and Zion Williamson together would absolutely bring fans to the Phillips Arena, although most of them would probably be 12-year-olds. I think Zion Williamson could be the best player in this draft class. I think he is a generational talent, and Zion Williamson could change the way the NBA is played. Anyways, let's get to the number 4 pick. The number 4 pick will go to the Orlando Magic. Who will they get to team up with Mohamed Bamba and Aaron Gordon? And the number 4 pick in the 2019 NBA draft is Romeo Langford of Indiana. This player is smooth, he's fun to watch, he has a high basketball IQ, he kind of looks like James Harden a little bit at the high school level, keep in mind. But let me tell you, you add one more high lottery pick to that mix, Isaac, Gordon, Bamba, Langford, that could be a scary foursome going forward. And the number 5 pick will be going to the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, a good start going forward, but it's not going to happen right away, likely. In this scenario, the Phoenix Suns select Sekoyu Doyamboya. Excuse me if I mispronounced that, but I'm going to have to get used to how to pronounce his name because this guy is by far the best international prospect in this upcoming draft. He's 6'9", 220. He's the youngest prospect. He was nearly born in 2001, and He is still 17 years old right now. He's got a lot of size, and this guy does not look like a regular 17-year-old. In this situation, they get the best international prospect to team up with Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, and that would give Phoenix a nice triple threat going forward. All right, let's get to the number 6 pick, which will be going to the Chicago Bulls. They've still got a way to go in terms of getting their talent in order, and with the number 6 pick, the Chicago Bulls select Quentin Grimes out of the University of Kansas. This is a guy whose stock is on the rise. I would say he is probably the best point guard prospect in this class. He's got a lot of size. He looked really good in the All-Star game, such as the McDonald's All-American game. He's got athleticism. I think he could definitely be the number 1 point guard off the board in next year's draft as of right now. All right, let's go to the number 7 pick, which will go to the New York Knicks, which I'm not surprised the Knicks will be getting another top 10 pick right now. With the number 7 pick in the 2019 NBA draft, the New York Knicks select Jontay Porter of the University of Missouri. So in a weird twist of fate, I think there is a very good chance that Jontay Porter actually gets drafted higher next year than Michael Porter Jr. did this year. Looking at this draft class, Jontay Porter definitely made a good decision going back to college, because I would say that next year's draft class, as of right now, is nowhere near the talent level or depth that the 2018 class was. So this gives Jontay Porter some room to improve his stock. And not only that, but he was really young coming into college, and he is essentially the age of an incoming freshman. So this is essentially his freshman year anyways. And he looked good last year, and I think he could have been a first-round pick in the 2018 draft. So he's got a nice inside-outside game, smooth game at 7 feet tall, and let me tell you, I think he could definitely be a top 10 pick next year. Alright, so the number 8 pick goes to the Brooklyn Nets, and good golly gee willikers, they are finally past that terrible Boston Celtics trade where they gave away like 5 years of their future, and now they get to pick in the lottery again. And with the number 8 pick, the Brooklyn Nets select Nazaron Reed of LSU. This guy is definitely fun to watch. Moves really smooth for 6'10", 245. Has a nice basketball IQ. Strong, and I think he would be a good fit in Brooklyn here. And the number 9 pick goes to, once again, the Boston Celtics. And how does Boston get this pick? Well, they get Memphis's pick because once upon a time, Memphis thought it was a good idea to trade a first-round pick for Jeff Green. Memphis would get the pick if it falls between 1 and 8 this year, but in this scenario, Memphis falls right out of that range and Boston will get their pick. So with the number 9 pick, the Boston Celtics select Goga Bitadze of the Republic of Georgia. If you followed my mock drafts for 2018, I was really high on this guy and thought he was a first round talent. I think he made a pretty good decision waiting until next year because the depth of next year's draft isn't as deep, and I think he could for sure go in the lottery. He comes from the same league as Jusuf Nurkic and Nikola Jokic. I think at the same age, Goga Bitadze is better than Jusuf Nurkic was, who was a first round pick in 2014. And the number 10 pick goes to the Cleveland Cavaliers. In this situation, LeBron James will not be returning to Cleveland, and they get his long-term replacement in Nasir Little of the University of North Carolina. This guy made a name for himself in the All-Star games. He was the MVP of the McDonald's All-American game, and he is North Carolina's best recruit in a long time, and he could be drafted higher than this even. The number 11 pick goes to the Miami Heat. They will pick Ashton Hagans of the University of Kentucky. He's a flashy player to watch. Reminds me a little bit of Colin Sexton. I would say he is Kentucky's top prospect. Miami needs a point guard for the future. Dragic is getting older. Ashton Hagans would be a good fit in Miami. And the number 12 pick in this scenario goes to the Detroit Pistons. And they pick, what do you know, Trey Jones of the University of Duke. Detroit definitely needs a long-term point guard. I'm not sure Reggie Jackson or Ish Smith is the answer for that. Trey Jones could be. So with the number 13 pick, that will go to the Atlanta Hawks as well. This is where that Hawks-Mavs trade could help the Hawks, because if Dallas pick falls outside of the top 8, Atlanta will get that pick. And I think with Dallas getting Luka Doncic, I think it will put them in a position where they might not make the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to get a top 8 pick either unless they get lucky in the lottery. So that will give Atlanta Dallas's pick next year, and they will get the number 13 pick in this scenario, and they pick Charles Bassey out of Western Kentucky University. He is the youngest American draft prospect, still 17 years old right now. He was supposed to be a senior in high school this year, but he changed his mind and committed to Western Kentucky this year. And as far as people are aware of, he has a pretty good attitude. I think even if he couldn't play next year, with his young age and his size and his skills, I still think he could go in the lottery. And the final pick of the lottery, with the number 14 pick, the LA Clippers select Moses Brown, which keeps him in California. He's arguably the best defensive center in this class. So, good golly gee willikers, what has happened to Cameron Reddish, who most have as a top 3 to 5 pick going into next year? Well, at this time last year, Michael Porter Jr. was about as sure of a top 3 to 5 pick as any prospect, and he ended up falling to number 14. So in this scenario, Cameron Reddish falls out of the lottery. Good golly gee willikers. But what do you know, with the number 15 pick, the LA Lakers select Cameron Reddish. LeBron didn't go to LA, but Paul George did, and they make the playoffs barely, but they get a long-term pick in Cameron Reddish. You team up Cameron Reddish on the Lakers with Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram. Good golly gee willikers, that is a scary future for the Lakers. So that's our first 15 picks for our first edition of the 2019 NBA mock draft. We are going to quickly show you what the last 15 picks of the first round look like right now. Thank you so much for joining us today. I was super excited to get this mock draft out to the world. We will likely do another mock draft, likely at the end of July after free agency happens and once we see what these teams' futures look like a little more. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Flynn Patrick. We will be back with more content shortly.